as we jump in here to the first topic of conversation to start tonight's show, the NCAA trying to give us a life preserver in terms of college football, trying to give us one. Still holding out hope for a full-fledged college football season. So what's going on is the NCAA today, it dropped a set of guidelines to follow for the coronavirus pandemic. And if everybody is able to appropriate, adhere to, apply, practice these guidelines, there is still strong chance, strong hope, good possibility for the Crimson Tide and everybody else in college football to, have a season. So the number one thing they have here on these guidelines is daily self-health checks. Daily self-health checks here. So what does this mean for Alabama football? Quite naturally, the student athletes here, as well as the coaching staff, getting yourself checked daily by the medical staff here, getting themselves checked daily by not just team doctors, but other medical doctors also, prior to entering the practice facility or the weight training facility, just making sure that you're getting yourself tested for COVID-19 on a regular basis. So having those self-health checks is what the NCAA has there in mind first and foremost. Behind that, they've got here appropriate use of face coverings and social distancing during the preseason, having the social distancing in the competition and things outside of athletics, So having the appropriate use of face coverings and having social distancing during the training, the competition, and things outside of athletics. So basically, I mentioned this on Wednesday's show about how the Oakley, administration, they're having the helmets with the face guards now, the helmets with the big visor. So having each player be mandated to wear a helmet with a face guard on there, a helmet with a visor on there, getting all student athletes, all players in football to wear that visor. In terms of the social distancing, I mentioned that it's something our Alabama sports performance staff of Dr. Matt Ray and Coach David Ballou, they are doing in the not just the in-person voluntary workouts, but also now the mandatory sessions as the first part or the first phase of the 6-week preseason practice plan has started. So what's been going on is, both guys, David Ballou and Dr. Ray, they'll call in the first wave of positional units. They'll have those guys in to where they're doing the target strength training, target conditioning, target speed things, injury prevention workouts. They'll have the guys spaced out. Of course, the guys will have the mask on. They'll have the guys spaced out. And upon the end of the first wave of positional guys getting that workout in, the guys will clean up the facility, sanitize some things, wipe things down, and then of course they'll wait for a while, and then after that you'll get the second group of guys in there, the third wave of guys in there, and so forth. So for coaches Matt Ray and David Ballou, they've already been practicing the social distancing and making sure that things are staying clean, staying sterile, staying sanitized throughout each positional group, going in and performing the workouts. And in terms of the competition, I'm pretty sure they're also doing those things, competitive-wise, for guys that may be out there doing 7-on-7 drills, 11-on-11 drills. When you talk Alabama football, after those drills are done, they're making sure that each player, each positional unit, being sanitized, making sure each guy's keeping themselves clean and up to date on the rules and guidelines when you talk the coronavirus pandemic. So that was just phase 2 there in the guidelines set by the league. Number 3 was testing strategies for all athletic activities, including the preseason, regular season, and the postseason. Like I mentioned before, having those periodic tests done, whether it's in summer workouts, whether it's in fall camp, and then throughout the season, just periodically having the medical staff, Dr. Jeff Allen, Dr. James Andrews, Dr. Kane, everybody on the medical staff frequently, check the players, make sure temperature's good, make sure blood work's good, make sure everything's on the up and up, starting off with summer workouts, and then you go into fall camp, you make sure the players are tested periodically through fall camp, and then throughout the regular season, make sure guys taking the precautions, doing the necessary things provided by the NCAA to make sure they're on the up and up, the well-being is in line and adhered to, but not just the players, the coaches as well. So phase 3, or the test number 3 that's given out here by the guidelines, testing strategies for all athletic activities, including the preseason, the regular season, and the postseason. The next thing here that the NCAA has lined out is testing and results within 72 hours of competition in high contact risk sports. So what that says is, if Alabama's playing a game on Saturday, right, between Wednesday and Thursday, the NCAA wants those tests being done and the results coming out. So where if the guy is cleared to play, if he's clean, he's went through the protocol, he's good, he'll be able to play, in that game on Saturday. If there's a red flag, if there's an issue, is there a precaution, maybe you want to hold this particular player out and not play that guy on Saturday. So that part is testing and results within 72 hours or 3 days of competition in high contact risk sports. So if the game is on Saturday for the Crimson Tide, NCAA, they want between Wednesday or Thursday those tests being done, there's the results from those tests coming out, and they can make the verdict from there. And then last but not least, here it has, member schools must adhere to public health standards set by local communities. Once again, member schools must adhere to public health standards set by local communities. So that being whatever the mayor of that community is having, the governor of the state has going on, whatever the protocol has structure, continue to follow the protocol. That being what we've been told since day one of the global pandemic: wear the mask, practice social distancing, keep your 6 feet, make sure you are sanitizing your hands properly. If you have to cough into the bend of your elbow. Just all of these things that have been set up, when the global pandemic first made wave here in terms of the realm of sports athletics going back to the month of March. So these are just the new guidelines that are coming in here, by the NCAA. So, there's still there's still the flicker of hope, to have college football, because, let's be honest, if the league did not want college football to happen, they would just come out and say, like, we don't want college football, can it now, shut it down now, let's do away with it now, let's just not have it this season, period. Just coming out saying it. But at least with providing these guidelines, it gives a flicker of hope, it gives some optimism, it gives an idea of, okay, the league wants us to have college football. The organization wants us to have college football. We have seen so many, coaches thus far that have spoken out to public figures about, you can't take this away from these young athletes. You can't take this away from the city. You can't take this away from our state. You can't take this away from the country. We need football. Football starts off the economy in certain states. It starts off the economy in certain areas. These young men have worked hard. We've seen coaches, i.e., Ed Ogeron of LSU has spoken out passionately about this. We've seen others that have talked to, local public figureheads in terms of, lawmaking bodies saying we gotta have a football season. And to see the NCAA at least put out guidelines to say, if we as people, as we as individuals adhere to, appropriate, practice these guidelines, then there's a good chance, there's a possibility that we can be able to have a college football season even in the midst of the global pandemic that's going on right now of the coronavirus. So just going back over what the NCAA has mentioned, number one, daily self-health daily self-health checks, and that's from the players for Alabama as well as the coaching staff. Getting yourself checked daily by the team doctors, by the medical doctors that these guys would normally go to as well. And these checks have to be done prior to entering the facility. Number 2, having the appropriate use of the face covering, as well as keeping that social distancing in terms of competition and training and things outside of athletics. So having the face guard, having the visor in terms of games, competition, but also the social distancing, as Alabama's been doing right now with David Ballou and Dr. Matt Ray in the training regimen. They've been bringing guys in, keeping guys 6 feet apart, spacing guys out, making sure you're going through the workouts that you have, but after the first group is out of the way, they sanitize everything, they clean everything, and when they bring the next group in. The next thing that was on here, making sure you have the periodic testing throughout the preseason, the regular season, and the postseason, keeping guys healthy, keeping guys on the up and up, making sure, players, coaches taking those necessary precautions throughout the year, keeping that immune system up and in good, clean condition there. Number 4, as I mentioned, the testing and results, having those, 72 hours or 3 days prior to, you playing the game. So if the game is Saturday for Alabama, between Wednesday, Thursday, the NCAA just saying make sure the results are good, the test is good, everything's thumbs up, everything's shipshape so that these guys can play. And then last but not least, just continuing to follow the protocol that's already been set down in place by the respective law, making bodies here. But we take our first break here on the show. Also, remember though, Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes. If you use the code TDA Emily's, you can earn 10% off all orders over $30. Link will be found in the description there. That comes from Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes. But when we come back from the break, we entertain your phone calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your chats, your questions, your concerns right after this.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best in Alabama football content, subscribe here and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.